SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Gateway Rescue Mission, meeting the physical and spiritual needs of the homeless right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Check us out at www.gatewaymission.org.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C Spire. Power your home or business with C Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C Spire. C Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MidDays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, where we have relocated the Element Wealth Studio over to the Golden Moon Casino and Resort, Philadelphia, Mississippi. We're here for Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation and their support of the Mississippi Food Network as they work to feed the hungry in Mississippi. We'll be guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music on this
Hump Day.
Man, it's hard to believe. We're already at the midway point of the week there, Rhino. We are all ready to go. A bunch of tents set up over here in the parking lot. Looks like they're going to have some food. It smells good. I'm already hungry, ready to partake. But we got a show to do at this point. A whole bunch going on. Yesterday, the president, Donald J. Trump, he traveled to Michigan, went into the belly of the beast. Of course, he did carry Michigan, a key swing state in the 2024 election. But he was accompanied by Big Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of the great state of Michigan, the Great Lakes State, as it is known, and strange bedfellows. She, of course, is taking on some incoming from her party because she tended to cozy up a little bit, but they actually worked on some deals together, saving an Air Force base. And, of course, Michigan, home to the domestic automobile manufacturing industry in the United States, and Trump's tariff strategy expected to play positively into the hands of that industry. During his speech, he touted progress in cutting federal waste, quote, protecting workers, restoring the rule of law, and ending illegal immigration as part of the, quote, most successful 100 days in the history of any administration. Instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first, Trump said at the Macomb County rally. In 100 days, we have delivered, this is the president speaking, of course, we're quoting, the most profound change in Washington in 100 years, adding he is ushering in, quote, the golden age of America. That's something he unveiled in his Inauguration Day speech. Now, we need to keep in mind that much of what he has done is sort of reset things back to normal. And that was necessary because we had a president in the prior 4 years that absolutely took us out of the range of normal, just nutcase stuff. And when you think about the wide open borders, the executive orders that mandated that DEI and CRT and ESG and all the crazy stuff be the centerpiece of all policy making throughout the Biden administration, and just Democrats in general just completely, wholeheartedly leaning into all that nonsense. Still are today. So all this president did is come back and said, hey, you know what? We're going back to just some semblance of normal. And he even talked about it yesterday, Rhino. I thought about you when he said, we've declared that there are only two genders. Imagine that. Oh, that was hard. And it's crazy that he had to do that, but I applaud him for doing so. And he said, by the way, and this is something we know is wildly supported regardless of party. All the polls show that, and that is not allowing those
dudes in dresses
to play against women in sports. I mean, that's just common sense, normal stuff. And he did that. It's crazy that we had to, but again, it's a good thing that he did. Now, he took some time to attack the former president, questioning, how did he ever get elected? He spent much of his speech, of course the president did, touting his wins on immigration policy, and he should, because this is a popular issue with voters and not just Republican voters. That's got to be the biggest pivot, turnabout, reversal, maybe in the history of presidential politics. We went from not so long ago. You remember, Rhino, you and I looked at them. I would point it out many times on the show, and we get live video from the business channel there in the studio that I've always got on. And you just have these images of these giant caravans crossing over the border. You haven't seen that anymore because it's not happening. This president said, no, we're not going to accept that. We are a sovereign nation, and our border is closed. So hats off to him for that, and that is honestly considered, I think, his greatest accomplishment in the first 100 days, and all that did was changing the messaging and enforcing existing law and taking some action to deport bad people out of the country. And in doing so, he certainly changed the entire dynamic and ended this swarm of illegals that have been crossing our country up to no good for the most part, bringing in fentanyl, settling into these sanctuary cities and ravaging Americans with their crime, even committing murder in a heinous fashion. It's just incredible. But the Democrats continue to lean into that nonsense, and I think it is a recipe for failure. Now, we do need to point out that the news on the economic front was not terribly rosy this morning. Markets, of course, are in a steep sell-off. They have trimmed their lows of the day back some, but nonetheless, we got GDP report, and the economy shrank in the first quarter by 0.3%. That's after a 2.4% increase in GDP of the prior quarter. So that's not the direction we want to see it going. We also got news on the inflation front. Core CPI ticked up a bit, and job growth moderated and actually trended downward a bit. So markets don't like that. I will say this, though. You have to give the economists that predicted this credit for calling it correctly. And more importantly, I think they read the tea leaves of consumers. Consumers saying, yeah, we don't feel good about the situation, and we're not going to spend as much. So it remains to be seen when the president's policies really start to kick in a meaningful way to reverse this trend. I hope we don't have a second quarter of negative GDP. That would indicate a recession. And I know the president doesn't want to be the one who presides over a recession. And I hope that doesn't happen. But that's where we are right now, and that's why the markets are selling off. We should take some satisfaction in the fact that even though we're still on track to produce a gigantic deficit in the first quarter, federal spending moderated just a bit, and that also has to be figured into as a factor in the decline in GDP, because federal spending is a component of GDP. So we are too reliant, and the president has indicated this, so has Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, Council of Economic Advisors head Kevin Hassett. They've all indicated, they've all advised the American people we're too reliant on the federal largesse, and we got to shift away from that and begin to promote the private sector and rely on private sector growth as a way to really boost overall economic prosperity. Because when the government's growing, yeah, even though that boosts GDP, just keep in mind that almost half of every government dollar we spend, we have to borrow. So that's not a way to run the railroad, and hopefully we're going to see some reversal in that trend. Didn't Biden change the private sector definition of a recession on the ceasefire text line? Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, that's not too surprising for a career politician. Not me. I didn't have anything to do with it. We're stepping aside for a break. Cass Mobley, COO of the Mississippi Food Network, and Stacey Jordan, Director of Development for the Food Network, are up next.
Well, can't we talk it over? I thought we had a better understanding. Oh, baby, don't be so chilly. You don't want to see me cry. Oh, baby, please. It isn't fair. You don't want me to cry no more.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Gerard Gibert. He keeps his classified documents right where they belong. Inside a Journey record jacket from the 1980s. Gerard Gibert, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays live from the Golden Moon Casino and Resort. We're here for Mississippi Farm Bureau, and they are a huge supporter and a promoter of the Mississippi Food Network, which, by the way, we now have Cass Mobley, Chief Operating Officer of the Mississippi Food Network, and Stacey Jordan, Director of Development for the Mississippi Food Network. All right, ladies, thanks for coming on. So tell us exactly what the mission of the Mississippi Food Network is.
So our mission is to provide food to people and hopefully have healthy outcomes for the people that we serve. So we're serving the food. We're in Jackson. We serve 56 counties. Okay. There are about 550,000 food insecure families in Mississippi. 1 in 6 adults is considered food insecure in our state, 1 in 4 children. We are in the business of trying to help supplement what these families can get so that they can make ends meet. Most of the families we serve are working families or seniors on fixed incomes. And so, of course, you know, with current economic situations with inflation and things like that, we have a lot more people that it's affecting. And so we're trying to make sure that we provide enough to help them through it. You know, you want kids to have enough food to eat. Summertime particularly can be tough on families with their kids at home and not in school. So we're just a supplement to help with their food needs, and we try to do it with a variety. We serve a lot of different types of food, and we do that through a partner agency network of about 430 partners all over the state.
Stacey, define food insecurity for us. What does that mean exactly?
For us, it's someone that's, is hungry. And, if someone is hungry, well then, we're here to offer, a way for them to eat. And we're not judging who that person is. Yeah. Could be anybody.
So how do you come in contact with them?
With the neighbors that we serve, through going to mobile pantries, we have child feeding programs, we have senior programs that we can go and take photographs or interview those neighbors and hear their stories.
Cass, speaking about your role as a chief operating officer, what's the size of the staff? What does the organization look like?
So we have a pretty small staff. We have 48 people. I started in 2003. There were 16 people working there then. So we've grown a bit in the last 22 years. But we're still very lean. We distributed almost 30 million pounds last year in 2024. And it's a logistical, very effective, very efficient operation. We have trucks that go out every day. We're serving the seniors and the families. Most of the distribution, even though, like Stacey mentioned, we have several direct service things that we do, most of our distribution is done through our partners, and 75% of those partners are churches around our service area. And so they get food from us, they take it back to their community, and they're the boots on the ground serving the people in their communities. So that's how we know the families that need assistance, is through those partners we have that are in the community, and it's very much community led. You know, churches are the backbone of Mississippi, and that's who distributes the food for us and gets it to the families. They know who the needy families are in their communities.
Talk about the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. How are they involved?
We are so grateful for this partnership. They came last year and did a volunteer opportunity with us, and then they came in to do a tour. We also have a couple of board members that are affiliated with it, Kent Bloodworth and Ted Kendall, and their interest, as they've learned more about what we do and how we do it, they just sparked a big interest in it. And so we kind of came together, and Mr. McCormick just said, you know what, you guys are doing such awesome things, and we want to be part of it. So how can we support you? So this is part of it. So we're so excited to be here and happy that they've taken us on as a cause.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mike McCormick, of course, who's the president of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. That's who you're talking about. He'll be on the program later on today, and he's been a guest many times. We're in the building, of course. So
right.
So, Stacey, the cut sheet I have here on some of the statistics about hunger in Mississippi, honestly, are somewhat disturbing. We exceed the national average, which is 13.5%. The food insecurity rate, according to the Mississippi Food Network in Mississippi, is 18.8. So what do you attribute that?
It can be various things, but one of the things that we recognize is the poverty. I mean, we have a lot of rural areas in the state of Mississippi, and so because of that accommodates the low rate or really high rate.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that affect it. Food insecurity doesn't happen in a vacuum. So you have a high poverty rate, very rural, and food insecurity rates are very high in rural areas for lack of access. That's one of the biggest things. So lack of access to fresh foods, to good foods, but also lack of transportation, housing issues. You know, we've got a housing issue in Mississippi. All of those things around it, lack of economic development in some of these rural areas. So there's a lot of factors that involve it, and of course food insecurity is just one symptom of some of those factors. Yeah,
and that makes sense. It's just kind of striking when you think about it, Stacey, that in this day and age, in this country, in this state, that we have people that are actually hungry. It's hard to fathom.
It's sad.
And but you guys, this is your mission, is to try to eradicate that, and you work with lots of partners to do that. So
over 400.
Wow. So what about folks who might have an interest in helping out, either with a financial donation or perhaps becoming a partner? How would they do that?
So if they want to help out, there's various ways in my department in development. You can volunteer. We have various ways of volunteering Monday through Saturday. And we also have ways to donate. You can donate with, non-perishable items. You can also donate by giving us monetary donations. You could also do a food drive. We have actual food drives that people have throughout their businesses or through schools. We have virtual food drives that you could just do to create competition from, let's say, one organization to another organization across the state. So there's various ways that people can help.
Cass, how does a partner or a donor, how can they be assured that their investment, whether it be in food donations or financial aid, is getting to the intended purpose?
Well, we're very efficient in what we do. We have a small staff, like I said, and we do a lot of things. But one of the things that we're very proud of is that 96 cents out of every dollar goes back to programs.
Wow.
We don't have a lot of overhead. Yeah.
And you guys are helping all over the state. You're not unique to any particular region or area of the state, right?
Well, we serve 56 counties specifically.
56, okay.
And we work with 2 other food banks that are in other states to serve the other 22. Yeah. But we serve our middle 56, which is a very large service area
that's
for one
a lot.
food bank. Right.
And are there any particular, you talked about the pounds of food, I guess, last year, Cass, that were delivered by the organization. Any other statistics that are notable that you want to share?
Well, one of the things about, the number of meals that we do provide is that in 2023 it was about 22.3 million meals, and then in 24 it was like 25.7. So it grew.
10% increase.
Right. It's going to increase this year. And our supply of food has taken some hits, so we don't have as ready a supply as we have had in the past. We've had a lot of extra help through COVID. Well, that's kind of trickling out, and that's understandable. So what we're doing is trying to do things a little differently, think about things a little more innovatively. Looking at, we want to talk about agriculture a little bit. We're looking at partnering more with local agriculture. So we are actually, over the last 2 years, have been building relationships with local farmers. We've been getting more and more local produce through that particular program, and that's what we're distributing a lot. So 30% of what we distribute is produce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so fresh food.
Yeah.
And a good portion of that comes through local suppliers. So
and
we're
that's
excited
important
about that.
because, as you indicated, access is a problem in many of the areas across the state, in particular to fresh produce, fresh food.
Exactly.
Cass, Stacy, thank you ladies for coming on and talking to us about the Mississippi Food Network and all the great work you guys are doing to address and eliminate hunger in the state of Mississippi. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it.
on. Yeah.
All right.
Folks, we're stepping aside for a break right now. We're at the Golden Moon, a casino over in the parking lot over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We're coming right back with more. We're promoting the Mississippi Food Network, trying to get rid of this hunger problem we have in Mississippi. Stay with us.
That matter most to Mississippians. Gerard Gibert, Middays with Gerard, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Down at the Astoria, the scene was changing. Bingo and rock were pushing out X-ray.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from Philadelphia, Mississippi at the Golden Moon Casino and Resort. We're here to promote the Mississippi Food Network, a big event sponsored by Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, a key partner to the Mississippi Food Network. You heard them say they serve 52 counties, the core counties across the state of Mississippi. Some of the statistics rather staggering. 1 in 6 adults and 1 in 4 children are food insecure in Mississippi. And the major driver, of course, is just poverty. We're the poorest state. And this is something we got to keep working on to help people get lifted out of poverty through private sector opportunity and work. So the food bank has a retail donation program that resulted in 7.5 million pounds of food donated and distributed throughout the organization's partner network in 2024. Wow, it's just staggering. So, more news on the economic front as well. I got a text this morning, and really appreciate it, from Commissioner of Agriculture and Commerce, Andy Gibson, really just notifying of what appears to be a breakthrough in trade negotiations with India. And you've certainly heard Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He's teased this. You've seen it, Rhino, the last 2 or 3 days. Yeah, India. He's brought them up by name, cited that nation specifically. And it looks like we may have a deal that could benefit Mississippi's farmers as well as all American farmers. This could be a beneficial trade deal struck by the Trump administration and those who negotiate such matters for the nation of India. Now, they're a big country, a growing country, and more importantly, they're growing their wealth and they're growing their population, and they need food, obviously. What's kind of cool about this deal, there's a sweetener in it, if you will. There's a feature that would incorporate that this country, the United States, would be considered a favored nation. So any future trade negotiations that occur between India and other countries would never be better than what they negotiate and we finally put pen to paper on in terms of a trade deal with this country. So they're looking for a quick deal, and they've also offered about concessions on about 90% of the lines that are currently subject to tariffs, talking about those goods and services that are imported from this country by India. So they've made some of these preemptive concessions, and they're trying to avoid the president's 26% reciprocal tariff. So this is good news. This is what we hoped for. This is what was, I would say, kind of cautiously, optimistically expected. But the commissioner certainly feels strong about the positive impact this would have on Mississippi's farmers. And, of course, the agricultural industry in Mississippi is its largest as a sector. So this is good stuff. This kind of reminds me, this favored nation provision, of deals that get negotiated with respect to equity positions, not necessarily in public companies, but in private companies where you have some sort of carve-out for preferred shareholders or even common shareholders where their class of stock would have what's called an anti-dilutive feature. So if more shareholders are brought into the fold in the equity stack, which would dilute without an anti-dilution feature the percentage ownership of existing equity owners, an anti-dilutive provision and such shareholder agreements would prevent that, and they would essentially be issued more stock to keep their percentage ownership level after the inclusion of new shareholders. So this is kind of neat. I like this. This is a cool negotiating tactic that I think will serve this country well. So that's good news. We talked a little bit yesterday about the concerns of our birth rate and just not producing enough people, Americans, new Americans in particular, to power our country. And the data there is somewhat disturbing. It's estimated we need a 2.1, essentially a birth rate to offset attrition. 2.1, I think it's per childbearing adult. I may be wrong about that, Rhino, but you know what I'm talking about, how that's calculated. And we're at 1.7 is the bottom line. So we're below what is deemed to be the necessary level just to keep up with the natural attrition of our population. And even Stephen Moore, who, of course, was an economic advisor to the president in his first term, he's someone that you see in the business news quite a bit. He's pointed this out. Elon Musk has been talking about this for a while, his concerns about this. He certainly pointed that out as well. So I find that to be somewhat concerning, and maybe there'll be a reversal of that trend, but the bottom line is a lot of childbearing age folks in this country just don't seem to have an interest in having a family. So it's something we certainly need to be aware of. The big, beautiful bill that's being debated up there in Washington. I caught an interview this morning. House Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith. Recall, folks, he was on the program not so long ago. He's from the great state of Missouri. He's the point person on this big, beautiful bill. I caught an interview with him this morning, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised that he was somewhat non-committal. I will see if I can repeat somewhat of what he said, though, which was very much at the high general level. He said, we're going to pass legislation that is pro-growth, pro-worker, pro-family, pro-farmer, and everyone will receive a tax break. So when asked by the host, what about the inclusion of this new millionaires tax bracket, he really wouldn't say no. That's not going to happen. He just said everybody's going to get a tax cut. So I guess that just depends on the specifics of what the bill looks like. The markets are on edge waiting for this. The House would like to get something done sooner rather than later. Leader John Thune in the Senate yesterday at the well said he wanted to make the Trump tax cuts permanent. That's good news. And that he's shooting for July 4th. Man, that's a ways away, honestly, when you talk about carving out legislation. There's also rumors going around with respect to the president's campaign proposal to eliminate taxation on tips and overtime and Social Security. What, by the way, Chairman Jason Smith refers to as lowering taxes on seniors. He doesn't say Social Security specifically. That may just be his choice of language to describe that provision. But there's rumors going around that maybe what we'll get to make the math work so that the bill could be passed under reconciliation, a four-year exemption, which would, of course, mean it would expire just like the individual tax cuts are expiring at the end of this year that were passed in 2017, and the Congress would be faced with a situation where they'd have to extend those or perhaps make them permanent. But that's going on as well. That would really be something. It also was reported, we talked about it, Rhino, this big power outage across Spain and Portugal.
And parts of France.
And parts of France, right, thank you. Methinks that those countries perhaps leaned into alternative energy sources a little too strongly without making sure that, no, you have kind of a contingency plan just in case that doesn't work out, because now we're learning that this was much related to green energy over there in Portugal and Spain. You know, the countries we're supposed to be emulating, isn't that what they tell us? Because they're very much in favor of socialism. But, yeah, it turns out that the media sources, certainly in the EU, are reporting that the national grid operator said, yep, wasn't a cyber attack, that solar farm failure was the problem. Now, look, you could have failure of traditional electricity sources as well, there's no doubt. But I still think they leaned into this a little prematurely without making sure they had everything accounted for. It's time for a break here, the final segment of the first hour of Middays over in Philadelphia from Mississippi Farm Bureau and the Mississippi Food Network. Up next, Brashesh Kumar, partner at Ernst & Young. Stay with us.
Patriot
Days with Gerard.
Good for America. Good for fans of justice and truth. Good for us.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
This is what we stand for.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Golden Moon Casino and Resort in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We're here for the Mississippi Food Network, sponsored by the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. It's our pleasure to welcome now Brajesh Kumar, partner at Ernst & Young. Brajesh, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us how exactly Ernst & Young is involved with the Mississippi Food Network and their efforts to really address and eliminate hunger in the state of Mississippi.
So our history actually goes almost a decade back. Our involvement, Ernst & Young and personally me, we started supporting some of our clients, Southern Farm and the Mississippi Farm Bureau, 10 years ago through a business transformation. Primary objective of that was to actually, Southern Farm can actually provide a better customer service to not only the state of Mississippi, but all other states where they operate. So that's how our partnership evolved over a period of time. I have been personally vested in Mississippi and been supporting through Make-A-Wish Foundation in the past, and also wherever we can actually engage based on our corporate responsibility that the firm has globally. As you know, Ernst & Young is a global company with certain corporate responsibilities, operating in over 150 odd countries. And this state has been one of our primary consulting practice accounts.
Okay.
So
that's awesome. So Ernst & Young, of course, one of the big four international accounting firms, been around a long time. Used to be Ernst & Ernst and then merged with Arthur Young a long time ago, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah. Well, that's the history of it. And some 17 years ago, we reestablished our consulting practice.
Okay.
And since then, I've been with the firm and in various capacity. And now I focus primarily on the technology and the business transformation, building
Awesome.
the capabilities internally as well as actually taking it to the customers.
Awesome. It's important, is it not, Brajesh, that big corporate entities such as Ernst & Young participate as they should in helping communities and just being socially responsible?
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the pivot. I mean, if you look at the tagline that we have is making a better working world, actually directly ties with our corporate responsibility globally and the nature of giving. And that is very close to my heart. And that's the reason why, whether we are helping them through events such as this, or even actually just on a day-to-day basis, building out a better thought process and involvement in the society across the board.
Yeah. So what impresses you? You said you're a personal donor as well to the Mississippi Food Network, right?
Yes.
So what impresses you about this organization?
Well, it goes back into my origin background. I come from a very farm-oriented family in India.
Okay.
And we still have farming and agricultural land in India. And growing up, I was very connected with how we do it. And there's a lot of difference between what is done in India versus here in the U.S. and Mississippi area. So there was always that connection I had. Growing up, I knew a lot of stuff. And while actually spending my last 2.5 decades in the U.S., I have learned a lot about this thing. So I feel personally very connected.
Okay.
With the farm community in general and farm bureaus and what they do through insurance or through other financial or other aspects.
Well, as you know, it's important to Mississippi. It's our state's largest industry.
It is.
And has been for a long time. That's because we've just been blessed with all the assets and the resources and the conditions that really facilitate success in farming.
Yep. No, absolutely. I think that's the reason why I think the involvement of the local community and the corporations to actually give back to the community is very important.
Yeah. So do you encourage perhaps some of your larger customers, because I know you guys primarily deal with enterprise-level customers, do you encourage them to get involved as well?
We do. Yeah. We do. In fact, Farm Bureau is one of them, but elsewhere in the country also, we jointly actually go and have these fundraisers and charity events that we actually go ahead and sponsor, as well as actually encourage them to actually take it out to the people.
Well, I know they certainly appreciate the notoriety, the branding, and the power and the resources of your firm, Ernst & Young, for being an active participant and a partner in this endeavor. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Folks, we've been talking to Brajesh Kumar, partner at Ernst & Young. We're stepping aside for a break right now. It's top of the hour. That means Fox News, SuperTalk News. We're coming right back with more Middays from the Golden Moon Casino and Resort. We're here for the Mississippi Farm Bureau sponsorship of the Mississippi Food Network. Stay with us.
I declare, do the mess around. Yeah, do the mess around. Everybody's doing the mess around.
Hour of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply, and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays, and we are live at the Golden Moon and Casino in the parking lot. Bunch of tents set up, including ours. We're here for the Mississippi Food Network, sponsored by the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation on this
Hump Day.
All right, so theories are out there. We were talking about the low birth rate in the country and the concerns around that. Theories are out there that AI and robotics will compensate for low birth rates. Well, I don't know that they'll totally compensate for it, but there's no doubt that there will be lots of what are described as low value tasks, and that doesn't mean the people who are currently performing those tasks are low value people. It just means that they're candidates. They're prospects for automation. So if you're in a job, working a job that could, in fact, be replaced by a machine, and don't think that's just uneducated people or people doing physical manual labor on the assembly line, for example. With the advances in artificial intelligence and other innovations, there are lots of different occupations that are at risk, including, and you know this, Rhino, including lawyers. You wouldn't think so. You know, you think about the amount of time that a lawyer spends in school. However, it doesn't mean we're replacing lawyers. It means that the sort of drudgery type of work you currently have to pay lawyers to do, you would need lawyers for. So lawyers, therefore, would focus on more complex endeavors and subject matter and cases and services that the machines just aren't ready for, adept at. The same is true in medicine. You're watching this, Rhino, just massive improvements in the use of technology and artificial intelligence in medicine.
Oh, yeah, especially in imaging, like X-rays and MRIs and CAT scans and, I just went blank on the one checking for breast cancer. Mammography?
Yeah.
Either way, that's the one that I just saw recently where AI was used to help detect breast cancer years before it would have even really been detectable with the human eye.
Yeah, that's incredible. But that's one example. But even when you think about the task associated with complex diagnoses and just health conditions that require consumption of lots of data, when you apply AI, which is essentially like having at your disposal a whole army of physicians. expert physicians in the various subject matter and specialty areas. Well, again, it's an augmentation tool that allows the human physicians to just produce more work, and that really is the whole benefit and the whole value of all of this technology, because that's how wealth is created. More output per human hour produces wealth. In fact, only that produces wealth. That's the only way to improve the wealth of people and overall prosperity. And so that's what's kind of cool is what's going on there. But I don't see it as a threat. But there is a threat that we still need humans. And guess what? We need humans to create all that technology. So there's an explosion in the demand for that sort of talent. But with our birth rate dwindling, it is a cause for concern. There's no doubt about that. The president has actually recognized that. And he's talked about even paying people to reproduce, $5,000. I don't personally think that's a great idea, and I hope that's not necessary, but I get it. The replacement level is the term I was looking for earlier, Rhino. It is pegged at 2.1 as a fertility rate, and we're sitting at 1.7. And by the way, it's not just this country. This is a problem throughout the world, even in countries like Japan and China that for years banned the having of babies over a certain number, restricted those. And now they're begging people to go out and reproduce. Hungary actually has a program. They've got a birth rate problem where they are paying people. I think Australia may have implemented something, and there is literally a compensation that comes from the government to have a child. So
there's actually a surprise country that you wouldn't expect on that list, and I discovered it yesterday while I was looking at some stats pertaining to the power outage. Spain has a lower birth rate than Japan, and they have for the better part of a decade.
I didn't know that. You wouldn't think that about Spain. And there are a number of factors about why the birth rate is falling, not only in this nation but across the world. Jason in Starkville says it's very expensive to have children. I'd love to have another, but I can't afford it. Yeah, I hear you, and I hear that from a lot of people. And the worst thing you want to do is, to Jason's point, which causes even more downstream problems, is have a child if you can't afford it. And you're not able to properly care for the child and nurture the child and provide stable home environment. That's what causes, I believe, the vast majority of our societal problems. If you look at the people that cause problems in our society, generally speaking, you can trace that back to a dysfunctional childhood. Is that why Europe is importing Muslims, says Thomas in Greenwood? No, I don't believe so, Thomas. I think that was just, for lack of a better way to describe it, Rhino, I think that was part of the virtuous wokeism that is quite pervasive in Europe.
Suicidal empathy.
Yeah, exactly right. It is amazing. You've seen it, Rhino, when you see these videos and social media posts and images of these elected leaders in England, and none of them look like English people. You can tell. I mean, I'm not trying to stereotype, but you can't help but recognize and understand when you just look at their physical appearance and how they speak. Yeah, that person's not a native Brit.
Yeah, if they have a difficult time speaking English, which was named after the English people from England, and they are being elected to represent the people of England where they started the language English, then, yeah, it's a little strange.
Yeah, exactly. You can't help but notice it. I know my wife, who went on a trip with a church group about a year ago, she mentioned that, said, you don't even feel like you're in England or France, but they're kind of rethinking that, are they not, Rhino? That these wide open borders.
The people in charge aren't, but the populace is getting fed up.
I think that's right, and they're letting it be known. Adam in Baldwin says, "Can I get back pay on my 4 kids?" Yeah, I hear you. I don't think that's going to work out for you, Adam. And speaking of speaking English, what about the president? Just another common sense order yesterday, I find it kind of, again, sad that we have to issue an executive order for this, but to be a commercial truck driver, you got to speak the language. You got to be proficient in English. How the heck do you get your license, a CDL, commercial driver's license, if you don't have command of our language? How does that work, Rhino? Aren't you at risk of not being able to perhaps read the signs or instructions? Because, I'm not a truck driver, but I got to believe you're having to act on lots of instructions and directions and orders that come from your employer, your customers, law enforcement, etc., traffic enforcement, that are in English. What's the deal with this? And of course, I applaud the president for this. It's amazing that this is even necessary. Is that possibly a problem with respect to airplane pilots? I can't imagine it's hard enough to fly a dang airplane when you do speak and write English. But is this the result of wide open borders? And it's just so difficult in our schools, in our public schools, when you've got classes, English as what? Your second language, because it's not your native language. And we have a lot of resources tied up in teaching the English language that requires special instruction over and above and excess of what standard instruction looks like of our language, because most kids, when they get to school, they've been exposed to it in their home life. But
it's because half the country bows down to an ideology that only really uses half of the statement. The United States is a country of immigrants. That's the first half of the statement. It's the only one they use. They forget the second half, that it's a melting pot.
Yeah.
Melting pot means assimilation. You're all melting together.
So they not only do many refuse, the Democrats defend their refusal, defend their defiance, just the same as they decriminalize criminals and they victimize and vilify the victims of those criminals. It's time for a break on Middays. We're coming right back. At 11:50 today, we've got Jonathan Huddleston. He's the owner of Grills of Mississippi. We're going to visit with Mike McCormick, the president of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, at 12:20. Stay with us.
Think for a moment about
the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
We're rolling. Hit it. Go. Play it.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Golden Moon parking lot over in Philadelphia. A bunch of tents set up here with the very recognizable Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation tents. The maroon color and the Farm Bureau iconic logo atop them. And they're cooking it up over here, man. I can smell it. It smells good. They're having a good time. And we're here to call attention to the Mississippi Food Network and hunger in the Magnolia State, something we would like to eliminate. There's just no reason for people in this country and in this state to be hungry with the bounty that we have. So hopefully we can address that and put an end to it. So the president yesterday is talking about a plan to increase defense spending. And in fact, just looking at the details of the one big beautiful bill the House is currently negotiating, looks like there would be a boost in defense spending that would put it over $1 trillion a year. Right now it's sitting at about $870 billion or so. But this proposal would place the total spending on defense at a figure north of $1 trillion. here are the list of things in the cost of those investments that are being considered. $34 billion for shipbuilding and improved infrastructure in the maritime industrial base. $25 billion for President Trump's proposed Golden Dome National Defense Shield. You heard that yesterday, Rhino, when he was up in Michigan in his speech. He's a big fan of this Golden Dome. We'll get into that in a minute. $21 billion to restock and expand production of munitions. $14 for new technologies and expedite delivery of low-cost attritable. I'm not sure, what is that, Rhino? Attritable weapons systems. Attritable. Interesting. $13 billion for modernization of the nuclear triad. $12 billion to enhance military readiness.
That's like
billion.
A fancy, trumped-up way of saying disposable. It's not disposable, but
I got it.
You don't spend as much making it as beefy, so that if you do lose it, it didn't cost you as much.
Or if it doesn't last as long, you'd have to replace it.
Right.
Yeah. So somebody's done the ROI on that and figured out that's a more economical approach. So $400 million for IT systems. It's a long list of things for the United States military. It would amount to about $150 billion. And that would put the spending well above $1 trillion a year for defense. So no spending cuts in that arena, but the president told us that on the campaign trail, that he wanted to increase spending on defense. Still think we need to do a full-fledged audit and drag in the Pentagon, even if it happened before those currently in charge, such as Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, say, hey, where are all these assets that you guys don't seem to be able to put your hands on that we gave you money to procure? This Golden Dome Defense Shield was something the president mentioned in his rally yesterday in Michigan. He's talked to the Pentagon about this. They have confirmed the name change, by the way, from Iron Dome for America for this project. It has now been dubbed the Golden Dome Initiative. And U.S. Missile Defense Agency is working with contractors, and after this renaming of the program, they advised all the contractors to amend all of their materials and their communications accordingly. So this really goes back to January the 27th. There was a statement from the White House where the administration released information and a high-level plan for what was called at that point the Iron Dome for America, now the Golden Dome. And that particular statement really highlighted what the administration believes is a sense of urgency to guarantee, quote, guarantee its secure second strike capability while deterring attacks on U.S. soil.
Yeah, it's basically beefing up what we already have with air defense, because what we already have with air defense wouldn't really stop a first strike. From what I understand, we've got between 40 and 50 installations on the West Coast. And by definition of installation, I don't know if that means 40 or 50 missiles or 40 or 50 places where they can shoot missiles from. I don't have that level of intelligence on this. But of those, they could defend against about a third of that number incoming, because they send so many per incoming to try to get that percentage of a chance of stopping it up. So, yeah, if all we really have is a handful of installations or a couple dozen installations on the West Coast, doesn't really stop anything coming over Canada or Northern Atlantic or really anything else.
Okay, so it's your understanding that this initiative will help beef up our other borders to the north, to the south, to the east. Is that what you're
Correct.
thinking this is about? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And it would be a strong deterrent, you would have to believe. I mean, until
Well, that's what second strike means. That means we will survive whatever you throw at us, and when we're done surviving, you're not going to be there anymore when we're done.
Oh, yeah. You're flattened at that point. No doubt about it. Cece in Senatobia doesn't appear to be a fan of artificial intelligence, says everything is screaming to turn away from artificial intelligence, but mad scientist curiosity is full steam ahead with it. Disaster in the making. I don't really see it that way, Cece. Everything is certainly moving full speed ahead toward it. And it's every corner of society. It's not only the folks who make all the technology, produce all the technology that powers artificial intelligence or the artificial intelligence tools themselves, but there's no doubt that it's moving full speed ahead in every aspect of public and private sector. And in fact, so are our adversaries. And if we start lagging and fall behind, which is a serious concern, that unto itself is a national security threat. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So I think we have to be careful, though. It's absolutely true that I don't want to ban it. That doesn't make any sense. We don't want to ban innovation. But we have got to ensure that we have a regulatory framework to the extent it's even needed that protects society, individuals, organizations, the nation as a whole. And that's happening across the country right now. Our own government has commissioned a task force, our state government, to review and make proposals for what would be some sort of reasonable regulations around that. So that there's no doubt that's happening. And it's happening at the federal level in a big sort of way as well. Landfill Management, Inc. says, look at Michigan in terms of the immigrant population that I wouldn't say have assimilated, but they have certainly settled in the state of Michigan. In certain areas, Dearborn's the one that comes to mind. And, of course, they've even elected the nutcase, Omar, that I call her a nutcase. Every time she talks, it's like that makes no sense whatsoever. So, but, yeah, that just shows, I think, the penetration of that demographic in the state of Michigan. So I agree. You're right about that. I assume those people are legal, but I'm not sure. The state auditor had a social media post this morning saying that illegals in Mississippi, I think he referenced 22,000, that they're costing taxpayers. He says $100 million. I'm not sure how that was calculated, but there's no doubt that we're educating, we're providing health care services and other government services. But I think we also have to recognize they're not exempt from paying taxes. They may not have Social Security numbers. I'm not defending it, but I'm just saying that they are going to the stores and they're buying stuff and they're paying sales taxes. So you'd have to include that in the figure as well. I get it. If I don't know how they came up with $100 million, but how much are they paying in? Probably not $100 million. At 22,000 people, that would in terms of sales taxes, and many of them likely also do pay income taxes because they have an ITIN, which is the equivalent of it's a taxpayer number that's used by employers, even issued to illegals. We're stepping aside for a break and coming back. The Element Wealth Studio over in Philadelphia, Mississippi, for the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation's Mississippi Food Networks.
In the state.
Is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Ready here.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you, everyone. It's Middays. From Philadelphia, the Golden Moon Casino and Resort, Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, sponsoring this event for the Mississippi Food Network. Wanted to share with you a story. Pat Alamas, the dedicated director of the Jackson Resource Center, that's the JRC, has devoted herself to supporting some of Jackson's most vulnerable residents. Under her leadership, JRC provides permanent supportive housing for 30 individuals experiencing homelessness at their main campus, offering them stability and a place to rebuild their lives. But Pat Alamas's commitment goes far beyond housing. Through JRC's soup kitchen and meal delivery services, she and her team work tirelessly to meet the immediate needs of those facing hunger. The JRC's soup kitchen opens its doors twice daily, Monday through Friday, serving hot meals at 11 a.m. and again at 3:30 p.m., welcoming anyone in need. Many community members return for both meals, and each one is offered a warm meal and a place to rest. In addition, Pat Alamas has helped establish a meal delivery program to bring hot food directly to seniors who are homebound, ensuring they receive the fresh meals they need. The demand is high. Anywhere from 70 to 100 people count on the center for meals each day, with numbers varying based on the time of the month. The mission was born from a simple outreach effort. In 2012, Pat Alamas and her team began distributing food once a week at Poindexter Park. When they saw the immense need, they expanded to providing food boxes, but they soon realized that for those without kitchens or means to cook, food boxes weren't practical. Adapting to meet the community needs, they transitioned to a soup kitchen model to ensure everyone could receive hot, ready-to-eat meals. Reflecting on her work, Pat Alamas says, quote, "Whenever individuals can find a break, they are looking for it and they need it. It helps," end quote. Her approach is clear: to offer food, support, and hope to those who need it most. Pat Alamas's work at the Jackson Resource Center exemplifies how empathy and adaptability can create a profound impact on community. Just want to pass that on and share that with you. So the nation of China looks like the tariffs are taking their toll. Their export orders are plunging, of course, hitting by the president's trade war. And that is a problem for the communist nation. Their manufacturing activity is down. Their exports are down. Their manufacturing index fell to 49. That's contraction. That's bad as far as a measurement of manufacturing activity. And so they're facing a lot of pressure to roll out some government stimulus and negotiate with the U.S., but they still remain defiant. They just don't seem to be interested in coming to the table. It's just a question of how long can they endure this? And they're a lot more patient than Americans are, because they don't, again, value human life, as we've talked about so many times. They really don't care about the impact and the consequences to their people. It's all acceptable losses, if you will, to defeat the evil empire of the United States. So the president's aware of this, and that's why he's standing his ground in those negotiations. He also, just momentarily ago, about 10 minutes ago, the president said the tariffs told the press, are incentivizing U.S. investment, and they're hurting China. He has a meeting scheduled with his cabinet, I believe, at noon our time today. Shipments from Asia down 35%. The Port of Los Angeles chief warns that could result in empty shelves here fairly soon. The president said, "I heard Samsung is now, because of the tariffs, they're going to build massive facilities in the United States." He said that during a cabinet meeting. If we didn't do the tariffs, they would not be doing that. So he cites some $6 trillion of investment in this country announced since he's been in office. NVIDIA, Apple, Nokia is looking at a project. There are numerous others as well. So he is, as he should, he's promoting these developments, and that's a really good thing. I think Many of these companies are also waiting to see action on the big Trump tax bill, the big beautiful bill, because they're looking for direction with respect to the corporate tax rate, which is, by the way, is permanent. That's in place at 21%. But there's, of course, been some proposals to reduce that for goods produced here in the United States to 15%, and I think many are waiting for that. But there's another provision that is not permanent. That's the immediate expensing. Just means when companies make capital investment, plant and equipment, etc., they can write all that off in the year of purchase rather than depreciating it over the useful life, some period of time. And so they get the tax benefit immediately. That started out at 100%. I happen to think that was probably the key provision that powered the Trump economy in the first 4 years, or the 4 years of his first term. And that has since been reduced down to 40%, from 100% to 40%. And that, again, was to make all the math work out so the bill could pass through the standard simple majority reconciliation process back in 2017. So bringing that back to 100%, making it permanent, would have a massive stimulatory effect on America's economy, and I look forward to that. And by the way, the chairman, Jason White, we talked about him, not Jason White, Jason Smith, pardon me, from Missouri, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee in Washington, said this morning that he expects that permanent expensing provision to be included in the final legislation, though that's absolutely good news, and hoping that is the case. So even though we reported that government spending last month fell a little, for the year it's actually up. And talking about the fiscal year, which began October 1, and it was up in January, it was up in February, likely will be up in April, and will be up for the duration of the year. Just remains to be seen what kind of deficit that's going to produce. We're already at $1.3 trillion upside down in terms of revenue versus outlays for the midway point of the year, and that's why I've extrapolated and shared that we're on a $2.6 trillion run rate. Just see what neighborhoods in the UK where people can no longer go. Yeah, on the C Spire text line. Michigan, this person says, as far as I know, has an entire neighborhood that has mosques that belt out with speakers at time of prayer. Yeah, I suspect that's the case. And there are problems in the UK due to their wide open border policies that have caused the country to be just flooded with people who are not of UK origin. And
but they've outlawed guns, they've outlawed machetes, they've outlawed kitchen knives. Heck, they've outlawed pointy knives. Knives made there have to have a blunt end. But somehow, people are still having sword fights in the streets.
Incredible. Thomas from Greenwood points out that Canada, our neighbor to the north, it has been somewhat friendly to immigration, and there are many, as he sent photos here of, I guess these folks are involved in the government in some way. Look like, I would just hazard a guess based on the names, these would be Indians. They also have a fairly significant Asian population. I work with many of them. The Vancouver, the Pacific Rim in particular, receives a lot of immigrants from the Asian, I should say from the Pacific Rim. The Pacific side of Canada receives lots of immigrants from the Pacific Rim. Japan, China, the Hong Kong area, Korea. My just kind of observation is that they do assimilate. They just have a sort of a different approach. They're not so much looking to overrun, but rather just seek opportunity and contribute. And they were all good folks to work with, honestly. All smart, all very reliable, produced very high-quality work as well. And that's been some 20 years. So, but yeah, it's definitely a problem, and I'm glad to see the border situation here cooled off significantly. I mean, the number of people crossing our borders down, like 95%, Rhino? Isn't that right? Last statistics
if not more,
I looked at. Yeah, which is good news. But the big thing, like I said, is when you're not seeing those photos and those images every day of these caravans crossing over that just look like they're up to no good, honestly. We're stepping aside for a break. When we come back, it's Jonathan Huddleston, the owner of Grills of Mississippi. Stay with us.
Sometimes
It's so awesome! Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
2, 3, 4.
Everyone, it is Middays. We're at the Golden Moon over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Mississippi Farm Bureau sponsoring this event for the Mississippi Food Network, seeking to address and, more importantly, eliminate hunger in the state of Mississippi. It's our pleasure to welcome now Len Weber. He's with Grills of Mississippi. Len, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. We've had a blast already. This inaugural event is going to be huge over the next couple of years, and thanks so much to Farm Bureau for allowing Grills of Mississippi to be a part of it. Unfortunately, I am not Jonathan Huddleston. Jonathan, the owner of our store, had back surgery last week, and that made it really difficult. He's going through all his rehab and all that stuff. I promise you next year he'll be here, and y'all are in for a treat. So I got tapped to come in and kind of speak on the behalf of the store and let you know a little bit about myself. I'm a competitive cook, and that's how I got involved in this whole deal. Grills of Mississippi was actually my Saturday morning coffee shop, for lack of a better way of putting it. That's where all my friends hung out, and that's where I always went. And I'm a teacher, so during the summer, Jonathan looked at me and said, "Man, you're going to be here, so I might as well put you on payroll." So that's exactly how that went down. And a little bit of history of the store, I think, is kind of an important place to start, because, honest to goodness, this is a organically grown family business in the state of Mississippi that has done really, really well. Jonathan Huddleston and Tracy Hobson, who made up a team called Pellet Smokers.
Okay.
We're chasing the national points title in at that time, Memphis in May network, which is now called the Memphis Barbecue Network.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were chasing the points totals or the points championship, and every time they went to a contest, one of their buddies would say, "Hey, whenever you see so-and-so, bring me back a case of their rub, or whenever you see so-and-so, bring me back sauce," or whatever. And they were already using pellet grills, which was way before pellet grills were even really part of what we're doing. So a light bulb went off in Jonathan's head. He started doing this out of his own garage, and that moved into them moving into a small store on Lake Arbor Drive, just right at the reservoir.
Yeah.
And it wasn't much after that. As things grew and as things got more and more popular, they moved in 2019 to their current store on Highway 51 in Ridgeland, and that's kind of home office for everything that we're doing. And we're doing a lot. I love to brag on the store because I love to brag about the work that family's done and the work that Tracy's done to promote a much higher level of outdoor cooking in the metro area and across the state. Southern Living gave them the moniker of the most diverse and the most offerings in sauces, rubs, and marinades, which currently we have about 770 different sauces, rubs, and marinades that are available in the store. Carried 12 lines of grills, and within those lines, Weber, we're really big into Weber. We're what's known as an alliance dealer, which is their top sales in their top sales structure for Weber products, as well as RecTech as a diamond dealer. Full service with all those, including in that store a full catering service, lunch plates Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We also have selected meats and fish offerings there in the store, and we're just really proud to offer. But without question, the most important thing that Grills of Mississippi offers is education. We want to promote this sport, and for me, I don't hunt and fish anymore. I don't play golf. This is what I do, and it's
competitive, isn't it?
It's very competitive.
Yeah.
And I currently, as well as most of the people that I run with, we compete in about 3 different associations, both the Kansas City Barbecue Association, the Memphis Barbecue Network, and the State Cook-Off
Lynn,
Association.
we got about a minute. Talk about your involvement with the Mississippi Food Network.
Mississippi Food Network is doing some incredible work, and Farm Bureau came to Jonathan not that long ago and asked if he would like to be a part, to which he said, of course. And we're going to continue that relationship by helping with, not only prizes and that kind of stuff, but also helping promote what they're doing within our community so that we can get more people involved and help on that end.
Very good. Well, I know they appreciate you guys' involvement, and what a great Mississippi company. It's a great story.
Incredible.
And it really is. I drive by the stores. I live in Ridgeland, so I see that all the time. Lynn, appreciate you coming on and sharing the story. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Folks, that's Lynn Weaver with Grills of Mississippi. We're stepping aside for a break. It's top of the hour. That means Fox News, SuperTalk News is coming your way next. In the next hour, we've got Mike McCormick, the president of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. Also, Lane Taylor. He was just elected in an open seat to the Mississippi State Senate. That seat included Leake, Neshoba, and Winston counties. It was vacated by Jennifer Branning. She was just elected to the Supreme Court. We're coming right back with more. Stay with us.
Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's hour 3, the afternoon portion of MidDays from Philadelphia, Mississippi at the Golden Moon Casino. We're here for Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation and, of course, the Mississippi Food Network on this
Hump Day.
It's our pleasure to welcome now Mike McCormick, the president of the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. Mike, always good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So this is quite the event. I was just describing this sea of Farm Bureau Federation tents we've got set up in the parking lot here at the Golden Moon, and all this food. I mean, it's quite tempting. I've been sitting here doing the show for 3 hours while all this food is cooking up, and you can't help but smell the good eats that are out there waiting. What did he just tell us? We got like a whole bunch of it. We need people to come eat it.
Yeah, we're going to have to find some more people to come in and help us get rid of this. Our agents are pretty excited. They're pretty competitive people. So when we started talking about how can we help the Mississippi Food Network and eliminate hunger in the state of Mississippi, Henry Hamill, our state sales manager, said, hey, why don't we bring the agents in? Why don't we get our insurance companies involved and all of us do this together and collect money for a worthy cause and have a great time while we're doing it. So all of our agents are competitive. They're all great cooks. When I go to each one of the 82 counties, each one of them say, now this is the best barbecue you've ever eaten, or this is the best catfish you've ever had. And I absolutely say, well, it's the best I've had today, because y'all are all great at this. But we're going to find out who the Grills of Mississippi thinks is the best cookers here, and do it in a professional manner. And I expect it to be a pretty tight competition, because there's a bunch of good guys out there.
Mike, how did the company get involved in this endeavor?
Well, I guess it's my idea. It's kind of sort of a legacy thing to me. The Bible says in Luke that to whose much is given, much is required. And farmers, they're not having the best year. It's pretty hard times there. We don't have great days. Sometimes we don't have great weeks. Sometimes we don't have great years. But we're having a great life at doing what we're doing. We live a world that most people can only dream of, making a living off the land, growing your family and the food there that we feed America with. So I thought it was a perfect idea for us to give back to our communities. We're in all 82 counties of the state. We have staff working in all those places and our agent force that we would partner with the Mississippi Food Network to give back to those less fortunate than us, and farmers feeding the hungry just seemed like a great fit for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is a great fit. I would agree, and I know it's very much appreciated by the Food Network folks, and that organization does great work in the state of Mississippi. We you hit the nail on the head. This is not just feeding or addressing the problem. The goal here is to eliminate the problem.
Yeah, we've got way too many people, way too many kids that don't have food through the weekend to eat before they get back to school on Monday, and just breaks your heart to see how many of our elderly are struggling now with the inflation that we've seen on food items, that they need a little help to make it to the end of the month. So Mississippi Food Network does a fantastic job with that. Our staff has been down there on volunteer days and helped them pack backpacks for the kids and things for the shut-ins, and we just become attached to the Mississippi Food Network and want to help them. It's some trying times right now. We don't know where all the funds are going to come from, and I'm sure it'll come back here sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, Farm Bureau's here to help.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the farming industry in the state of Mississippi in particular. The tariff uncertainty has been an issue. You shared with us that our farmers in this country, and including in Mississippi, they're so good, they're so productive, they produce more than we can consume in our own country. So we rely on foreign markets to buy our products.
And that's a good thing, right? We need to run a trade surplus where the farmers are selling all their products overseas. That's not a bad thing. And I think all the farmers realize that we've got to have better trade deals. We get treated unfairly through the process, and it's not the best of times right now, but we're confident that we're going to get sooner rather than later, is what I'm hearing. I was with Senator Hyde-Smith earlier this week, and she mentioned some trade deals that we should be hearing about in the next week or so, and talked to Commissioner Gibson. I think you've talked to him. There's a big one that he talked to me about this morning. So if we can start stacking those on top of each other, if we can get some soybeans and some other crops to move across the ocean, I think we'll be back bigger than ever.
Yeah, specifically, I'm sure he sent you the same data. He was pretty excited about it concerning a trade deal with India.
I know he's been over there several times.
Yeah.
I know Governor Bryant went over there. I've never been there with them, but they've been working on this for quite a long time. And India is the largest population in the world now, or should be. And we have a lot of opportunity there if they will allow us to come in and sell agricultural products there. So I don't know any details other than what Commissioner Gibson told me this morning, but he's very optimistic that something's on the table, and we'll hear about it real soon.
Mike, historically, have they been sort of a hostile market for us?
No, they just put 9 trade barriers in that keep us out of the marketplace. Okay. So it's not price related. They'll say that you produce this the wrong way, or you have this reason why I'm not taking it today. So India has just been a protectionist country of what they'll accept, but they send a lot of product into the United States, and I'm sure that they're going to want to not be on the bad end of a trade deal with this administration. So hopefully Commissioner Gibson's right, and we're going to get this going in our direction soon.
Well, I mean, and that was the president's strategy, was to leverage the consumer market here in the United States. I mean, we're the world's biggest customer to almost all these countries, if not all of these countries, and it's time that we leverage that and get a fair deal.
I agree, but the farmers are at the tip of the spear. They're the exports or imports that the foreign countries always go after to inflict them as much pain as possible on our country. So the president and Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. I met with her personally. She assures me that she has the president's ear in that whatever happens, they're going to have the farmers' backs through this process. And I hope we don't have to ask for subsidies or help from the administration. But the truth of the matter is we've had 3 or 4 bad years in the row crop industry sector, and they're probably going to need some help.
The Farm Bill, Mike, this comes up a lot. I hear this from just anecdotally from friends who are farmers. Talk about why that's so important and kind of what the status is.
Well, we moved in the 2018 Farm Bill. We moved to a lot of crop insurance for our farmers to handle the losses and away from direct payments or ad hoc disaster payments. But what's happened is with all the inflation that we've seen through the last 4 or 5 years, that the numbers, the triggers that trigger payments that the farmers are paying in for that insurance, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't trigger, and it doesn't help them. So we've got to update the Farm Bill with realistic numbers of what the input prices are actually for the crops and how much they're getting for them. So all of that works, but it's just badly out of date. It needs a fresh coat of paint on it. It needs reworking, and we're hopeful, optimistic. We've got 2 really good guys working in Congress, Senator Bozeman from Arkansas and Congressman G.T. Thompson from Pennsylvania. Both have been here to Mississippi. Mississippi Farm Bureau has hosted both of them here. They understand our needs through the process, but the votes are just so incredibly tight up there. It's going to be hard to move anything. So I think what you're going to see towards the end of the year in a CR is maybe trying to update some of the things that could possibly be put in a CR that would make it easier to get a farm bill done next year. I'm not real hopeful we'll see a complete farm bill this year, but I do think we'll see parts of it included in a CR. Did
Senator Hyde-Smith give you some hope, some optimism there?
You know, she's one of the most optimistic people on the planet, and nobody fights harder for the American farmer, the Mississippi farmer, than Senator Hyde-Smith does. I was in a livestock meeting in Denver, Colorado last week, and we were talking about how we were going to get young people into the livestock business, and it's just so incredibly expensive to get into any kind of agriculture, owning land, owning the equipment that you need, all the livestock you'd have to buy. It's just incredibly hard to get into with those kind of barriers. But she wasn't able to attend, but she sent a video up there, and they introduced her. This is a national audience. They introduced her as our senator.
Oh, that's
and I
good.
thought that was awesome for the rest of the American agriculture to realize she fights that hard for us.
Well, I'm not sure anybody in the body understands the industry more than she does, being part of it. Yeah. So, Mike, appreciate you coming on. Great information, and thanks again for your involvement and work with the Mississippi Food Network. It's really important.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and we're looking forward to making this bigger and better next year. And if you want to be a part of it, we'd love to have you. You can go by one of our offices and drop a check off if you feel called to do it. But we're going to be here all day today for a great cause and collecting some money to go to help end the hunger in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, sounds good. Mike McCormick, President of Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, has been our guest. We're coming right back. Don't forget, we got Lane Taylor, a newly elected Mississippi State Senator, 1235. Stay with us.
Think for a moment.
Check it out. Let's do this. The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Middays is in Philadelphia at the Golden Moon Casino and Resort. We're here for Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. We just heard from Mike McCormick. He's the president of that organization. This is all about eradicating food insecurity and hunger in the state of Mississippi, working with the Mississippi Food Network to do so. We appreciate Mike's perspective on that and many of the other things he's got going on. at the Farm Bureau Federation on the C Spire text line. Stop all farm subsidies and let the free market do its thing. Y'all always screaming about how the free market will take care of it. Now put your money where your mouth is. Who said anything from our perspective about subsidies one way or another? Not me. Don't think I've heard Rhino say that. So I feel like you're putting words in our mouth. I'm not a big fan of subsidies either, to be perfectly honest with you. But I get it. I understand it. And I think to a great extent the government causes the problem. But that's not unusual, is it, Rhino? They cause the problem, and then they always attempt to address it with money. And to some extent, that's what's happening here. And there needs to be, I think, some rework and analysis and review of that to see what is the best approach to handle that. The Farm Bill is nothing but subsidies, says Thomas in Greenwood. What other occupations are we going to subsidize? What makes a farm so holy that we cannot allow it to fail? I drive past plenty of boarded up businesses that failed, so why aren't they as deserving as a farmer and subsidized even though their model was failing, same as farmers' models? I think the obvious response to that would be that you'd have to agree that food is pretty fundamental to life. And I suspect that's why it gets special attention. By the way, there's always been a soft spot in our government for the farming community. I mean, that goes back decades. That really hasn't changed. And it does seem like that there needs to be some rebalancing, I think is the way to put it. And maybe that's going to happen with this tariff situation. But, again, it's a good news, bad news deal. Technology, innovation, and in terms of technique and tools and resources and assets used by farmers to produce has expanded and improved dramatically. And as a result, the yields are just astonishing. And there are not enough consumers for those yields, certainly within our borders in our country. So that's no doubt something that has to be addressed. Haven't been able to listen. Did someone pass the farm bill, says Blake in the Delta? No, we were just talking about it. Blake with Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation President Mike McCormick. The farmers of Mississippi, of course, are awaiting some rework of that legislation, as you heard Mike discuss, and to get something passed and put in place. But nothing at this point definitive. Okay, most of the farm bill is SNAP and welfare, more than money for the farmer. I don't think most of it is, but it is true that the SNAP program is included in the so-called farm bill. So I haven't really dissected it, but there's no doubt. Mike in Fannin says there's no bigger gambler than a farmer. I agree. I mean, that's their occupation. That's their chosen mission in life and vocation. So everybody knows it. When they go into a business like that, there's a certain amount of risk associated with it. It doesn't matter what the business is. You put your neck on the line and you hope it all works out. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it whether or not the risk associated with agriculture and farming is any greater than any other industry. It just depends on a whole bunch of factors. But no doubt that is something we need to be aware of. I also wanted to pass this on. We frequently talked about the public employees retirement system in the state of Mississippi, and it turns out that the Prentiss County chapter, this is from the Mississippi Retired Public Employees Association Facebook site. I'm reading this, and it just says that the Prentiss County chapter of retired education personnel held a meeting, this would be yesterday, with Senator Daniel Sparks, who has spearheaded retirement system legislation in the legislature. He was there. Also, PERS board member Dr. Randy McCoy and retired legislative member Jack Gadd. They were speaking. 150 people, attended this event. Toward the end, the senator said that he was going to try to get PERS a dedicated continuing stream of revenue of $100 million. And on this particular post, it says, while this is appreciated, the actuaries say PERS needs around $600 million a year due to their procrastination. We need to keep pushing and beginning to make a difference thanks to the Prentiss County people. I challenge each county to start planning meetings that include PERS members and retirees to educate each senator and representative on what PERS means to the state. The Mississippi Retired Public Employees Association will help you get that word out. We need to start these meetings this summer and fall so that they are primed as the 26th session gets underway. We need to fix Tier 5 so we have new employees paying in and get sufficient funding to make PERS strong again. Yeah, I take a little bit of an exception to that. They're paying in. They're not paying in as much as they presently do under the program. They pay in the same amount of their salary, but it's split roughly half and half between PERS and a new program, a new standard private sector type defined contribution plan. And it is true that their employer contributes less because they're matching that situation. But it's also true that their benefits are much lower, so it's a give and take sort of deal that has to be considered. But $600 million a year, I don't recall seeing that as the figure that the actuaries have recommended. I do know that they are recommending increasing the employer contribution rate significantly. I think the combination of that and a recurring revenue stream that's just appropriated, transferred from the government, that combined might amount to $600 million. I'd really have to take a look at that. But this is an ongoing issue that ain't going away anytime soon. We got to highlight also that Mississippi's been recognized for expanding quality pre-K. That's through the Early Learning Collaborative. Got some national recognition. The National Institute for Early Education Research 2024 State of Preschool Yearbook, released yesterday, said Mississippi now ranks 31st in the nation for preschool enrollment of 4-year-olds, up from 35th. One of 5 states in the country to meet all 10 of their recommended benchmarks for preschool quality. So this is good news about continuation of good news about public education in Mississippi. This, of course, pertains to the Mississippi Early Learning Collaborative. I think all this is great. These education improvements and outcomes and gains are phenomenal. And the governor and others that stewarded those policies, the governor likes to say it was just common sense conservative policies that led to this. I think that's great. I just also point out that all of that really is with an eye towards preparing a student to attend college. That's not necessarily the only and the best path for a high school graduate. But in general, that's what the curriculum is designed around. We got to bring in more industry that provides them jobs and a place to work so they'll stay in Mississippi, because otherwise all these education gains, they just go to the other states. We're helping the other states by better preparing these students. They go to college, they graduate, they cross the border before the ink's dry on the diploma, and they go work somewhere else. We need them to stay here. That's the payoff. There's no payoff in improving the education quality if they don't stay here and leverage that. And there's no doubt a concerted focus on that, certainly from the governor's office, to do just that, and lots of others in economic development, and even some legislators that are somewhat focused on that. So that's good news. So they work hand in hand. One more thing about the trade war is this China export reduction is starting to take its toll. We talked about that earlier, but it sounds like there's some rumblings perhaps about China getting serious about coming to the table. I hope so, because I think it would be a good thing for all involved. Right now, sort of all are losing as we wait this thing out. We are stepping aside for a break again in Philadelphia at the Golden Moon Casino and Resort. When we come back, we're here, by the way, for Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation and the Mississippi Food Network. Coming right back with Lane Taylor. He was recently elected to be a Mississippi State Senator, District 18, right where we are in Neshoba County, and is included in that district, and nearby Leake and Winston counties. Coming right back.
Okay, is everybody ready?
I'm ready. Ready here.
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We're waiting to get in touch with Lane Taylor, Mississippi State Senator, just elected to that office. So we'll wait for him to get on board. Hopefully we'll have that discussion. In the next and final segment, we've got Jamie Swafford. She is the Industry Affairs Coordinator for the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. And folks are starting to okay, we got Lane now? Hey, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us today. Lane Taylor, everyone, Mississippi State Senator, represents District 18. That incorporates Leake, Neshoba, and Winston County. So first, Senator, congratulations on your securing this office.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I sure appreciate it. Thank you for having me on today.
You bet. So I'm sure you're getting, you'll be anxious to get down to the Capitol and get to work as a newly elected state senator.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited. Just left my first legislative breakfast here in Leake County, and first official visit as a senator, and it went very well. And awesome. I am very excited to get to work for sure.
Yeah. So what did you hear at the breakfast that you can share with us?
Everything was good. Had some good questions from the concerned citizens, and got to hear from the speaker. He was here, in Leake County. This is part of his district, and Scott Bounds. He's my representative in Neshoba County. He was with us, and Representative Rushing, and so it was very good, and got to hear from him. I didn't have any. I was lucky this year. I didn't really have any comments to make on any of the questions, just because I was sworn in yesterday. But it was an exciting time, and get to hear comments from the citizens, and hear their response, and I know what to be prepared for next year for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I've seen your campaign materials and collateral. Talk to us about what your priorities would be as a Mississippi State Senator.
District 18 is been home for me all my life. I was born and raised in Neshoba County, and traveled through Leake County and Winston County. My wife is from Winston County, and so District 18 has been home for me all my life, and we've got a lot going on in District 18, and District 18 has got some, we have some very, very special people. We've got some good industry. We've got some good people in different places that make up the district, but agriculture is very big in our district. I would like to focus on our farming community. Of course, the forestry fits in there, so forestry and agriculture are very dear to me. And I was had the opportunity to serve as a Mississippi FFA state officer back several years ago, so that's something that I've carried with me. And Justice Branning, Senator Branning, yeah. Justice Branning now, she did a very good job there in the district, and I'd just like to continue the legacy that she has started there in the district. She was very loved and still is, and had a huge impact on the district. And so agriculture, forestry, very, very dear to my heart. Education. I've got 2 young children. They're getting ready to start school soon, so education is very important. I was blessed with some good educators all the way from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and so some of those were big supporters of the campaign, and I look back and they've become really good friends of mine. So like I said, agriculture, forestry, education, and of course highways and bridges. Senator Branning, Justice Branning, she done a very good job on her committee assignment on highway and roads, and I'd like to continue that. If Lieutenant Governor puts me on that committee,
okay,
I'd like to continue that. But yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's why I was going to ask you if you thought about your preference on committee assignments. Sound like you've thought through that somewhat and would perhaps like to succeed Senator Branning in being involved in transportation infrastructure.
That's right. Yes, sir. And, throughout my campaign, I had a short campaign because it was a special election, of course, so it was a short campaign. But I did campaign on several points that I've hit, and we talked, Lieutenant Governor and I had a chance to speak very briefly about committees, and everything is moving fairly fast right now, so we have not had a chance to really sit down and get those committee assignments. But, of course, transportation would be one that I would love to be on just because infrastructure is so important. It's so important for our district just because we have so much. Well, it's important for all over the state, of course, but in our district, we've got different industry and that desperately needs to be looked at, and the transportation and highways and bridges. And that was some big concerns here this morning that I heard at the meeting was, infrastructure. And I don't have all the answers right now, but I do know just looking and getting started that if you want to get good business and good industry and good jobs, we're definitely got to start with our infrastructure and road and bridges and highways, and make sure that they can safely get employees to work, get them home, and get their product to and from. And so that's one issue that is very important.
We're talking to Lane Taylor, newly elected Mississippi State Senator representing District 18. So, Lane, given that you were just sworn in, would you be seated at a special session that looks like is imminent?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got instructions on that, and that was one reason that Lieutenant Governor felt that it was important to go ahead and get sworn in to be able to represent my district in this special session coming up. We, during this regular session, District 18 did not have a representation down there. So he and I both found that it was important that we go ahead and get sworn in and be prepared to show up and be ready to go to work on day one. And for me, that means special session.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the entire state, as you know, is kind of on edge, especially the agency complex, waiting for a budget to find out where they stand. And it looks like that is going to be sorted out in a special session. It could be called any day, literally, from the governor. So you'd be thrown into the fire right off the bat there. Senator, what do you think?
Man, I'm excited. I'm ready to serve. I have been asked about the special session multiple times since the election results came in, and I'm ready to eager to get down there and learn and see how I can serve my district and see what areas that I could be of assistance to. And so it is. So somebody said this morning it's going to be. Well, I've heard this statement many times. It's going to be like drinking from a fire hydrant. But I'm prepared as prepared can get, and ready just to be a representation of the district and be able to take their concerns to the Capitol and also be able to take what I'm hearing from the Capitol back to the district. And my focus is going to be having a good relationship with the district and serving the people. I campaigned on a senator of the people and for the people, and that's something that I would like to continue to do is to know that my district can call on me and I'll take their voice down there, and then vice versa. I will take the results or take what I'm hearing and share it back with the district. So I'm excited, and I think it's a unique opportunity to come in on a special session, and I'm ready to take advantage of that opportunity.
Gotcha. Have you had any conversations with other members of the state Senate in advance of you taking your place there?
I have. The night of the election, I had several senators reach out to me and through text and phone call, just welcoming, very welcoming to the Senate. And yesterday I had a chance to visit with several that were down there in meetings with different committees, and some of them were present for my swearing in. And so, getting to talk to them, and they're very welcoming, very, ready for me to get down there as I am. And, just talking to them and hearing their concerns and taking their, hearing their advice. And, I think there's some good things that are going to be happening over the next couple of weeks and whenever the special session's called. And I know the Senate's looking forward to, getting the budget set. And, like I said, I'm excited about it and excited to meet the ones that I've not had a chance to meet yet. I'm excited to get to know them. And, to the ones that I have met have been very, very informative. Let me know anything I need, any questions. I'd be glad to help me. And so that was a big relief getting down there. Just as they were very welcoming. Lieutenant Governor was very welcoming, his staff, the staff at the Capitol. But excited about that.
That sounds great. Lane Taylor, newly elected Mississippi State Senator from District 18, Lee, Neshoba, and Winston counties. Appreciate you coming on there, Senator. Thanks a lot. Look forward to talking to you some more.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so, folks, I got a text here, Rhino, somebody not happy about the fact that I highlighted the governor's work related to the improvement in our education. Credit also goes to school admins and teachers. You give credit to the governor, not those making it happen. Well, I didn't give exclusive credit to the governor, so I apologize if that was the perception. My daughter was a school teacher for many years, so I certainly understand their contribution. But, hey, let's not forget the students themselves. What about the students and the kids and their families? We're coming right back. Stay with us.
Hey, this is Will.
It's so awesome! Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's been quite a day here at the Golden Moon Casino and Resort in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We're here because this parking lot's full of a bunch of people cooking, and there's a lot of great smelling food and great tasting food. I've sampled it a bit, and that is to call attention to hunger in our state. Mississippi Food Network does a fantastic job of working towards eliminating hunger in our state, and they have a great partnership with the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. So they are here en masse. It's our pleasure to welcome now Jamie Swafford, Industry Affairs Coordinator for the Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. What a great turnout this is, Jamie.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Awesome, isn't it?
So these folks are pretty serious about this problem in our state, and we all should be concerned about this.
Yes, Mr. McCormick and Mr. Hamill are committed to making sure that we do our part in eradicating this issue in our state. We do not need to be the sixth hungriest state in the nation. So he's committed to it, and Mr. Hamill and him put their heads together and came up with this great event, and I couldn't be more proud of it. There is so much food here.
Yeah, it's incredible. The food is unbelievable. But some of the statistical data that they shared with us is it's shocking and it's disturbing at the same time.
It truly is. And, one of the things that the foundation that Mr. McCormick has created in the Federation is the Foundation for Agriculture. We are focused on educating people about agriculture, helping the next generation of farmers and ranchers be educated, promoting our agriculture through farm families, but also farmers feeding the hungry.
Yeah.
And if we don't make sure our children are fed, they're not learning, because if they're hungry, they're not learning. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of our kids and all of our hungry people in the state.
No doubt.
That's the least we can do.
Many different sources account for the donations the organization receives, as you know, including, of course, Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation. But the faith community is heavily involved in this issue. I had a texter, I'm sorry it scrolled by, I missed it, Rhino, but said that I believe their organization, their congregation, feeds 500 different families, something to that effect, which is certainly commendable and very much appreciated. This really does take an all hands-on deck effort, does it,
It
not,
takes
Jamie?
all of us. It really does. And, your churches are so good at what they do and taking care of people. And everybody needs to give back. We may be the hungriest state in the nation, but I can tell you this, we're also the most generous
There's
state.
no doubt.
So,
There's no doubt.
I am deeply grateful to be a part of this organization and a part of this event, because we're gonna keep doing our part to make sure we're ending this critical issue.
And we should not rely exclusively on government for that purpose either.
No.
This is where the private sector can play a critical role in addressing a societal problem, and honestly doing it more efficiently and effectively
I
than
think we're
government.
great at it.
I do
think,
too.
a lot of people don't realize how good we are at taking care of each other.
I think it's awesome, but your organization, Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, a great Mississippi company, really incredible turnout today, incredible work. So Mike told me you got lots of the reps are here as well.
A lot of agents are here.
Agents, yeah.
So Mr. Henry Hamill's over our state agents, and they have done an incredible job and have been so gracious to do this event so we can raise money. And if you want to be a part of it, you can stop by your local Farm Bureau office and donate there as well if you can't be here today.
Yeah.
So you can take part in that as well, and all the proceeds will go to Stop Hunger.
Yeah. So you've even got one of your consulting partners, Ernst & Young, partner
Yes.
was on earlier, partner at the farm was on earlier talking about their involvement. You guys didn't twist some arms there, did you?
No.
Well,
So arm twisting.
well, I would be disappointed if you
feeding
didn't, to
kids?
tell you the truth. So that's awesome. So
Yeah.
there you can tell they're very proud of their involvement as well.
We've been very pleased with our partners that have stepped up and helping us in this
Yeah.
issue. And
Well, it should be.
Yeah, it's exactly how it should be.
We're so blessed, and we've received so much, and it's incumbent upon us to give back, especially to our fellow Mississippians. And the thing that really breaks your heart, I know you feel the same way, Jamie, is when you have kids that are suffering and
Yes.
not getting fed properly.
Well, making sure our kids are fed. I mean, why would we think that there's anything other than? I mean, immediately.
I can't think of a higher
Make
priority.
sure our children are fed.
No doubt about
as well
it.
as our senior citizens
That's
that
exactly
cannot,
right.
cannot maybe get out or cannot get to the grocery store. I mean, it's incumbent upon us to make sure those people are taken care of as well.
Well, very much appreciate the involvement of Mississippi Farm Bureau Federation, the organization, all the partners involved with the Mississippi Food Network, of course, the Mississippi Food Network itself, and just a lot of private folks that see this as a great cause and get involved in it. They do fantastic work. I'm just very impressed with the data they shared with us. But Jamie, appreciate you joining us and wrapping up the show with us today. Been a
We
great one.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us here. Folks, that's a wrap here today. I wanted to pass on that Good Things with Rebecca Turner is going to be at Quarry Park for the City of Brandon's Jubilee Days. That is coming up this Friday. We thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget about the Mississippi Food Network. Help our fellow Mississippians that do need help or confronting hunger on a regular basis. We'll be back with you again tomorrow in the Element Wealth Studio at SuperTalk headquarters. Until then, stay safe and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.